Welcome into the weekend rotation, episode number 2. Hope you liked the intro video. I thought it was cool. We are T-minus 1 day away from Vol baseball kicking off. 4:30 tomorrow. SEC Network Plus will be where you can see it. ESPN Plus in the ESPN app is where the game will be streamed. The Vols will open up with Nicholls State, or is it just Nicholls? Should probably know that, considering they play tomorrow. If you're new here, welcome. This is the weekend rotation. I am Will Heflin. This is the Tony Basilio Show Network. It's baseball time. I'm pumped. I'm super excited. It is chilly but sunny here in East Tennessee, so we will take it. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is our preview show that we will do in tandem with Extra Innings. Extra Innings is our live call-in show after every SEC series and postseason game. We'll do those on Sunday, starting with the big tournament in Arlington in a couple weeks, and then we'll get into a routine once conference play starts in early March. Tennessee baseball opens with Nicholls. Like I said, they will play a couple non-conference schedule weekends leading up to the tournament in Arlington, where they will play 3 Power 4 teams, and then they will be back home for one more non-conference kind of ramp-up series, and then they will be at Georgia opening up SEC. So it is coming upon us quickly. It's kind of crazy. Like, basketball postseason hasn't even started and we're here, but that's a different conversation for a different day when this season should and may change in the future. There's been some conversation around it. But last week, if you missed it, we previewed the lineup. I gave you my prediction on who I think the starting 9 will be in what position and kind of the general groupings of where people will be at in the lineup. Today, we're going to talk pitchers. My favorite thing. Obviously, I was a pitcher under Tony Vitello and current head coach Josh Elander. So still feel relatively close to the program, although everybody who I played with is now gone. Makes you feel really old. Hunter Inslee was kind of my last thread hanging on, and I had a year with Inslee back in 21, his redshirt freshman year. And now he's gone. Vol legend now. Super exciting career for Hunter, but it does make me feel old. So we'll dissect it, but I don't quite have the personal insider info that I had a couple of years back, but that's okay. I still cover the team very closely, and I'm very excited for this team because it looks good on paper. Pitching staff specifically, I think the major difference we will see from last year is more versatility, right? Last year, there was plenty of talent, plenty of power, plenty of velocity, but they struggled at times, especially the bullpen. I think, with Liam Doyle being the front end starter, the rotation was pretty rock solid. It was kind of a revolving door on Sunday, which is not uncommon in college baseball. I think Tennessee had just been very fortunate the last several years to have really 3 bona fide starters. And so last year there were 2, and then you had kind of the rotation on Sunday. You had some freshmen trying to fill in pieces in the bullpen, and you had some really talented guys on the back end who were trying to basically learn on the job. And that was Tanner Franklin and Nate Snead, most specifically, both of whom were drafted relatively high, which speaks to their talent. But the pitching staff for the first time under Tony Vitello was arguably the weakness. And there were times that the lineup didn't pick them up at all. Whereas in 24, they seemed to play really complimentary. But last year, there were certainly some concerns and nerves at the end of the games, trying to close out wins, things like that, whatnot. I don't want to harp on last year too long. The weekend rotation has been announced. Friday is going to be Tegan Kuntz, sophomore, came in as a very highly regarded freshman, top 100 player in the country, made 10 starts as a freshman. Kind of an up and down year. He missed the first part of the year with some sickness, and then was trying to ramp up late. And you saw flashes, right? But consistency was the issue. finished the season very, very poorly on a struggle bus, was basically put on the shelf, didn't throw in Hoover and didn't throw in the postseason unless I'm forgetting one short outing, but was really just not involved. And then he goes up to the Cape Cod League, looks a little, or sounds like he was a little bit more fresh. You hear he's bumping 98 to 100, has a phenomenal showing in a couple starts in the Cape, comes back to Knoxville late summer, spends some time with Quentin Eberhardt, and then goes into the fall. The real focus was putting on some strength and some muscle and really growing into that frame, because he's electric and wiry, but there's some room for growth in there, for some mass, maybe increased durability, increased consistency, things like that. He's going to be in the Friday role, which tells you several things. A, he's gotten better as a pitcher because the stuff is there. The stuff is mid to high 90s fastball. The breaking ball is sharp. It's a very, it's not a wonky delivery, but it's certainly not just your Iron Mike righty over the top. Like there's some deception in there from Coons. And that tells you that they believe in the mentality and they believe in the maturity to take the ball first and be the tone setter, because Friday is that's the job everybody wants, and it's extremely important. That's Teagan. Got to have a big year from Teagan. No, regardless of whether or not he sticks in the Friday role, he'll be in the rotation either Friday or Saturday, maybe Sunday, depending on rest and if anything happens, has to miss a start or the scheduling gets wonky, stuff like that. He's going to be your starter or one of them, and he needs to be good. And so also in the mix for that Friday role was Landon Mack, transfer from Rutgers. Had a good freshman year, similar to Teagan. Sophomore, very high ceiling, power stuff. All throughout the fall, you kind of thought he might be the Friday guy, was kind of the gem out of the portal on the pitching side as far as starters go. And also in the mix was Brandon Arvidsson, who seems like he's going to start in the bullpen, but really was the best guy for Tennessee down the stretch last year outside of Liam Doyle. Of course, Brandon Arvidsson had his best outing in Hoover against Texas. If you remember, had all those strikeouts. The breaking ball was nasty. The breaking ball from Arvidsson is probably the best pitch in college baseball this year, unless I'm forgetting somebody with maybe a ridiculous fastball or maybe one of the lefties in the SEC as well. Volantis or one of the Arkansas guys you could put in the same category with their breaking ball from that side. But Arvidsson will certainly be in the mix to be a starter, although he's not going to start as one. He'll be one of your main pieces out of the bullpen if he doesn't start. So Teagan Coons is Friday. Landon Mack is going to be your Saturday guy. I mentioned he was in the running for Friday. Seems like they're going to go Coons, then Mack. And then Sunday is going to be Evan Blanco. Personal favorite, Evan Blanco. He's a lefty. I'm biased, but he is a transfer from Virginia. He is old. He is a senior. He has started big-time games in big-time conference and postseason. He's been Virginia's Friday guy. He's been to Omaha, unless I'm thinking incorrectly. I'm pretty sure Virginia has been to Omaha since he's been there, but he has a ton of experience, has thrown a ton of college innings. He's going to be probably upper 80s while it's cold, but he'll live 90, 92. Good stuff from the left side. Pitcher, right? He's a lefty, throws a ton of strikes, mixes and matches. Really just a classic Frank Anderson guy. I know Frank's not here, but he and Reynolds should mold really well. And they should, Blanco should help Reynolds kind of get into the flow of calling pitches because Blanco's just going to give him so much confidence in whatever he calls is going to be executed for a strike. And that is a rock on Sunday. Mentioned last year, it was kind of a seesaw with Teagan kind of taking his lumps and the learning curve of being a freshman and some injuries. You had, what's his name? Krenzel, who really seemed like he was coming on, and then he got mono and had to miss some time and then just wasn't the same. So Sunday was just a problem for Tennessee. Couldn't win a Sunday game. So what do you do this year? You throw in a transfer senior with probably like 200 innings in college baseball. Should be a rock there. Feel really good. The rotation on paper, right up there with the best in the country. You could argue Arkansas is going to have a really good rotation. Texas is going to have a really good rotation. Tennessee is right there with those three. Coastal Carolina is going to have a really good rotation. Those are the kind of the top ones that come to mind if you want to compare what Tennessee's rolling out there all 3 days. It's going to be good. Now, let's talk about the bullpen. How was it revamped? Who did they bring in? Who did they add? And what freshmen are going to contribute? Let's start with Brady Frederick, SoCon Pitcher of the Year, Knoxville kid, local kid, different arm slot. He's going to come from underneath. He was phenomenal at ETSU last year. He came into Lindsey Nelson on a midweek game and really stuck it to Tennessee. Had a very good fall from what I've heard. Going to be a back-end guy. He could probably go multiple innings. He could probably throw all 3 games on any given weekend. He won't do that this weekend. But Brady Frederick will be a mainstay in the bullpen, kind of multiple different situations, whatever you need. Very excited about him. Then you've got Brandon Arvidsson, of course, who we talked about earlier. He's going to be a mainstay on the back end, at least early, unless he moves into a starting role. In terms of closer, Mark Hindy is a transfer from Kennesaw State. They said his fastball is quote unquote alien, meaning it is just different, very high velocity. I think he's touched triple digits, but it's got the spin rate and the metrics to just be that almost looks like it's rising type fastball. A lot of ride, a lot of carry, a lot of swing and miss. If they do end up with a traditional closer, he's probably your leading candidate for that. Also on the left side, to go with Arvidsson is Hindy from Duke. He is a transfer, leans on the cutter a lot. I really like that as a lefty. You don't see a ton of lefties come in and throw a bunch of cutters, but it's really going to be upper 80s, a little bit of wiggle, boring in on right-handed hitters and running away from left-handed hitters. So think ground ball situation, think tough lefty matchup. He's got a ton of experience. I believe he's a junior. So that'll be a good addition to the bullpen. And then freshman, Cameron Appenzeller is a name everybody should know. He was a big draft risk, top 100 player. Had a really good fall. Similar to Coons, there's some room in the frame to grow into it, but pretty polished for a young pitcher, wiry arm, low to mid-90s. Who knows, maybe more by the time we get into the season, but he will certainly be in the mix and pushing for a ton of innings out of the bullpen. And then there's some other freshmen, but before them, Nick Abraham is a returning sophomore. Haven't heard a ton about him, but did hear he got off to a good start in the fall. Kind of got roughed up a little bit last year, but he's a strike thrower, and he's one of those guys that you could just see kind of coming along as his career progresses. This may be a year where he takes a leap. That could be a bad take. Maybe he doesn't pitch at all, but kind of gives me Sean Humley, Garrett Stallings type comps, because while it may not be 98, he's a bigger frame, it looks pretty effortless, and it's a lot of strikes. And so that's why they gave him an opportunity early in his career. So we'll see if he contributes. Braden Krenzel, who I mentioned last year, got a lot of innings as a freshman. He's your sinker guy from the right side, a lot of ground balls, power sinker. He's going to be low to mid-90s as well. I believe he was up to 94, 95, maybe 96 last year. Should live closer to that this year. And he will certainly be in the mix. And so on paper, you've got more versatility, right? You've got a submarine righty, you've got a power righty, you've got a power lefty, you've got a cutter lefty, you've got a sinker righty. Like, you've got options. But the biggest thing for the bullpen for me is not what's on paper. It's, as a collective, do they have the momentum? Do they kind of own the role, if you will? I think one of the issues last year was like nobody really knew who the guy was, and they just kind of got in a rut and were never able to. It was almost contagious. I think it's similar to hitting in that one guy doing really well in the bullpen helps another guy do really well. It's just a comfort, a feeling, a momentum, whatever you want to call it. But I really like it on paper, so we'll see. That's pretty much where I'm at with the pitchers. There's some other freshmen that we will need to learn about, and I'm sure we will with Nicholls and some of the midweeks early on. And there will be guys who look amazing, and I'll get on here and say, wow, he's really got a shot to contribute. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. The starting rotation will shuffle around. Somebody's going to get nicked up. Somebody's going to, earn an opportunity, force the coaching staff's hand, yada, yada. It never stays the exact same. But I think what Tennessee is rolling out there makes the most sense. And I could see having a shot being extremely similar, if not the three guys that are the mainstays once we get into conference play. Lord willing, they all stay healthy. So that's really the biggest thing as a pitching staff, especially early on. You want to stay healthy. You want guys to get their innings. You want to spread the love. The other guy I left out was Blaine Brown, who is a hard-throwing lefty. Talked about him last week in the lineup. Think he's going to play left field. He's going to get a shot to pitch because he's upper 90s from the left side. So if he factors in and is a main piece in the bullpen, then he may move to DH, which doesn't really affect the staff. But if he is a viable option out of the bullpen, that only adds more depth, which I think last year Tennessee may have had a greater number of arms. But this year does feel deeper in terms of versatility, right? But less deep in terms of number of bodies. So I think you'll see that across the board with other schools as well this year, just because the rosters had to be cut down, which is why we're kind of seeing the value of the two-way player go up. And all of this is a trickle effect to the rosters, right? I think bullpen is where teams will feel it the most because that's, pitchers are more likely to have injuries and that sort of thing than the starting 9 guys who are out there every day. The pitching is much more of an experiment and a project early in the year, and we will certainly see. But I feel confident in the pitching staff, what has been a top 5 pitching staff the last 5 years under Frank Anderson. We'll see if that trend continues under now Josh Reynolds and Josh Elander. It is Josh Reynolds. I'm going to feel really dumb if I mess that up. Neither here nor there. But let's talk about some of the big picture stuff, because VIP Play and some of the other books have some futures lines out now. So I do want to touch on kind of where Vegas is at in terms of Tennessee in the pecking order and the preseason odds. These matter as much as something that doesn't really matter, but it is good to talk about. Tennessee, let's see, 25-1 to win the national championship in the preseason lines. LSU is the favorite. Arkansas, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi State, Auburn, Vanderbilt are the SEC schools that sit in front of Tennessee in the odds. After Texas, Mississippi State, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee are all in that 15-1, 25-1 range. LSU is plus 650, and Arkansas is 10-1, Georgia 13-1, Texas 13-1, Mississippi State 15-1. So those are the teams that are more ahead of Tennessee in terms of the season outlook. Again, it doesn't matter. LSU won the national championship last year. I do believe they were the preseason favorite or in the top 3. Or no, Texas A&M was the preseason favorite. So the favorite did not win it last year, but the prior year, I believe Tennessee, or may have been LSU, was the favorite and Tennessee won it. So maybe you just don't want to be the favorite to win the national championship. But that kind of gives you an idea of where Tennessee's at in the SEC pecking order. I know that 6-7 range. It's ironic. And where does that let's assume that you fall exactly there, right? Where does upper middle pack of the SEC get you in terms of postseason? Well, hosting a regional, borderline hosting a supers. If you're seventh, you're not hosting a super. They're not going to have 7 SEC teams hosting supers or as the top 8 seeds, because you've got your top 3 in the ACC are probably going to be there, your top 1 or 2 in the Big 12, and your top 1 or 2 in the Big 10. So it's really 4 or 5 SEC teams that have the opportunity to be a top 8 seed. 7 or 8 can be a regional host site. So Tennessee's got to find a way to outperform 3 of those teams ahead of them to be in that top 4 if you want to be a top 8 seed. Not crazy, super doable, also not easy at all, right? So it just kind of gives you an idea of where they're at. Sometimes the odds makers don't align with the rankings. Like Georgia is very high in the odds, but not. They're kind of like Tennessee. They're all over the board in terms of preseason rankings. They've got a lot of transfers. They look good on paper, but haven't seen them play together. Wes Johnson entering his 3rd season at Georgia, I believe. But Tennessee's right where they need to be, right? They're right in the mix. Some of the teams ahead of them, I think Tennessee looks better than on paper. We talked about it last week. It is truly just a question of a new staff for the hesitancy, if you will, to put Tennessee where you think they would with their roster being on paper. But we mentioned it's the number 1 freshman class in the country. It's a really strong transfer portal class per usual, and you've got some core returning guys. So it's just a matter of putting the pieces together, playing your best baseball at the right time. Nicholls not going to tell us a whole lot. Hopefully Tennessee sweeps. If they don't raise the alarms. It's February. They haven't been outside. There might be a close game that shouldn't be, or Tennessee may lose, or Tennessee may just absolutely hammer them. But they're from, I believe, East Texas or Louisiana. Pretty sure it's Louisiana. So they may have been outside a little bit more than Tennessee. So hopefully they give them a good challenge, right? Tennessee opened up last year with Hofstra. I remember it because I was calling my first games in the booth as a color analyst, and poor Hofstra, they hadn't been outside at all. Their Friday guy goes down with Tommy John. Their closer goes down with Tommy John, both before they even came to Knoxville. They weren't good as it was. They weren't deep, and Tennessee absolutely hammered them. Tennessee was ranked number 1. I think they were the last team standing to be undefeated, and fell a little short in the postseason. So that tells you everything you need to know about early season. Don't look too far into it. Take the info as it comes. Draw your own conclusions. Enjoy it. I'm really excited for baseball. There's some good games on tomorrow outside of Tennessee. TCU and Vandy being probably the highlight of the day, but it's really starting at 9:30 a.m. in Puerto Rico. I believe Houston and Wake Forest will kick off the season in the Puerto Rico Classic. So make sure you got your ESPN Plus ready, because tomorrow it begins, and I'm very, very excited. Wanted to have Matt Dixon on with us today, but he was pretty tied up, so I'm going to have him jump on next week, so I won't just be rambling by myself. He'll be our first guest. Matt Dixon does extra innings with me all the time. He covers Tennessee baseball for Basilio, does a great job. So he'll be on, and then we'll have some other guests down the tracks. But get into a flow doing this. Get a little bit better each time. You see I got a logo up now. Had the intro video. We're getting better as we go. So I will see you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully Tennessee basketball gets a win. Tennessee baseball gets 3 wins. And hopefully we have some good weather. But whatever you're doing this weekend, do it well. Do it safe. And enjoy your time. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Will Heflin, the Weekend Rotation. Have a good one.